So now we're ready to define our bank account class, so what each object will look like. And we will do this using a header file and then the code file. So we are going to separate the definition and the implementation. So if my header file is called bank account, I'll use an if not defined, and then this is just the syntax that you'll use, all uppercase, the name of your class, _H. So if this isn't defined, define it, and then this is the end if. So each class will look like that. And now we're ready to start our class definition. So just like struct, you start it out with class, and then give it a name. It'll be the same name as your file name. And then we have the open curly bracket, and then the close curly bracket, and then the semicolon. So just like we did with a struct. Okay, and then if you look down below, here were the pieces of data that we decided we needed, and then the different functionalities. And so we will be breaking those up into private and public places. So the first section will be for our private data. So I'll make a C string, and I'll just call this account holder, and I'll make it 101 characters. You could use a constant as well. And then double balance. And notice, just like the struct, I'm not giving these any default information, right? I'm not initializing them to anything because the object hasn't been created yet. You first have to define the class, and then you will create multiple objects from that class. And now we need a struct because we are going to be keeping a list of their transactions. So I'll define a struct, and I'll just call this transaction. And let me put that there before I forget. And so each transaction will have an ID. I can call this the transaction ID, and it will have an amount, right? And if it's a positive amount, that will be a deposit, and a negative amount will be a withdrawal. So I don't need to keep track of was it a deposit or a withdrawal. So then I'm ready to create my array of transactions. So transaction, and I'll just call this transactions, and we'll just start that off at 100 different transactions. And then let's see, I need to keep track of how many transactions they've made, right? So let's see, transaction count, right? And then every time they do a transaction, I want to give it the next ID. So I want a variable to keep track of what is the next ID number that I'm going to be giving that transaction. So let's make next ID. Okay, and then those are all the things that are private. So the only way that you can access these variables is through different methods that you'll be writing. And those methods are called getters and setters. And they're called getters and setters because they will get data and then they will set data. Okay, and so we will make those public. And the first one will be to deposit money. And this one will need to be past the amount, right? Okay, and then we need another one to withdraw money. And then we need another one to display. And since that is not going to be modifying any of the variables, I can make that a constant method. Okay, and then there are a few other things that we'll talk about in later videos, But that is the structure for our bank account class.